Imagine if there was a snake that instead of having a venomous bite, used its tail to sting people. The mythological hoop snake. This creature has been seen across American folklore, and other similar legends across the world. And in my home state of Louisiana, myths about this animal are still very prevalent. But what if I told you that there is a snake with a spine on the end of its tail? And it does use it to stab prey. Hey guys, I'm Zachary Gray, and on this adventure, we're heading out into the cypress swamps, in search of a snake that is so striking, it's often mistaken for a mythological creature.
This is pretty much my backyard. I've been coming here for 15 years. It's just such a beautiful, expansive habitat, these cypress swamps and hardwood bottoms. If the bugs weren't eating me alive, this would be a great place to just kind of sit and hang out and enjoy all the nature. That's a particularly good spot to see mud snakes. They'll come up and along these banks in the summertime. Normally they're going to be under logs, but sometimes they'll be under leaf litter in the edge as well, kind of out in the open. This is what I think of when I think of Louisiana. Right here, beautiful, vast cypress swamps.
Since snakes are so feared, lots of folklore and myths tend to form around them. Not only about their venom and how dangerous they are, but also their behavior and diet.
Oh man, have a look at this snake. Oh, getting way into your log. That right there is a gorgeous Louisiana milk snake. Probably one of my favorite snakes in the state. They're incredibly rare, and you can see why. Bright red coloration, super elusive snake. Now these snakes got their nickname milk snake because of the first reason people were really finding these animals. You see, milk snakes like to hang out in barns. Lots of farmland has a load of milk snakes up north, so people would most commonly see these guys on cow farms. So a myth was formed that these snakes actually drink cow's milk, and that's why they kept finding them in barns. Now we know nowadays that milk snakes like to hang out in barns because it's dry, there's lots of cover, there's lots of rodents to eat, but back then, people really thought that this snake drank cow's milk. Now it's silly, and obviously not everybody believed that, but that's just one way that myths tend to form. People see one thing, it's clearly stealing my cow's milk. When we obviously know today that that's not the case. Louisiana milk snakes are super secretive. They like super dry, woody areas, kind of like this log you're looking at here. So whenever there's boards or nice dry areas in barns, that's where they like to hang out. But it's interesting because that behavior is what led to them having the nickname milk snake. One of my favorite snakes, super brightly colored. I'm gonna go ahead and get you back on your log. What a gem.
What an absolute score of a snake, but that is definitely not the red snake that we're looking for. I'm on the hunt for the mud snake. These snakes are almost entirely aquatic and are one of the more elusive snakes in my home state. But this time of year, they're gonna be on the move.
Now if you wanna know the hardest part about trekking back here, a few miles back into the cypress swamp, looking for super rare snakes while avoiding cottonmouths, it's not the cottonmouths, it's not the hike, it's definitely the bugs. The summertime here in Louisiana can genuinely be dangerous. We've had people die in this area from mosquito bites. And if you look there, they're covering me, they're covering the camera. They'll eat you up, man. This section here is perfect for mud snakes. Nice and flat in a cypress branch. Gets deeper over here, a lot of logs. I'm gonna double loop this one a few times. I thought I just saw a snake over here. A little moccasin or something. What? Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Oh, yes! About a 4-foot mud snake right there. Look, look, look. He's stabbing me. That's crazy. Well, here we go, guys. This is a giant mud snake. That is an absolutely incredible animal. In some of my favorite habitat here in Louisiana. That is just something special right there. Now, mud snakes, as their name suggests, live in the mud. They live along these edge habitats and cypress swamps. And have a look at that belly! Isn't that something else? Doesn't look like it's from here. Now most people would see this snake around culverts or little ditches around their neighborhood in the south, and all they would see is this right here, that solid black top, and they're just gonna go, what is that little dark colored snake? And it's not until you look underneath them that you see why mud snakes are just one of the most beautiful snakes in the swamp right there. Oh, you hissed at me. Oh, I'm so sorry. Now this is quite a large mud snake. I would say this one's around 4 foot long, but they can get bigger. This snake can get 5.5 feet in length, which would be an absolute monstrous mud snake, but they get fat. These snakes can get about that big around. They can get massive. Now their eyes are kind of situated right on the top of their head there. They're perfectly built aquatic snakes. They love to go along these little cypress branches. They love going into bayous and all these swampy habitats. And their biggest threat normally is going to be habitat loss. But here in Louisiana, we have an absolute stronghold on these guys. In fact, I would argue that Louisiana has some of the best western mud snake populations anywhere in the world. Now, mud snakes are actually very plentiful. They're what I would consider to be a very elusive species. They're a snake that doesn't come out in the open too much. Sometimes you'll see them out in the day during weird parts of the year, but for the most part, this is a nocturnal snake, and they're out hunting for something called an amphiuma, which is a giant swamp salamander that kind of looks like an eel. Sometimes people refer to them as Congo eels, but they are in fact giant salamanders. And when you find these snakes, oftentimes they'll be covered in little scars, little bite scars, and I don't see too many on this big girl here, but what that's from is amphiumas. They have a super strong bite. They will oftentimes bite mud snakes whenever they run into them. So this is a strange red snake that stabs you that eats giant salamanders. Mud snakes are just one of the craziest snakes that we have. And they're non-aggressive. I mean, you'd have to do something crazy to get one of these snakes to bite you. They're entirely non-aggressive. You can't get them to bite you. Now, when I first caught this snake, you'll notice he spined me with the end of his tail. Now, he's not doing it right now because they really just don't do it that often. They only do it right when you grab them usually. Right now, he's just kind of curling it up. But these snakes have a spine on the end of their tail. Now, why would a snake like this have a spine on the end of its tail? Clearly, it does use it to stab predators whenever they try to grab the snake. But the reason that they have a spine on the end of their tail is to hold down amphiuma. If you can imagine, you've got this giant eel-like salamander, super slippery, and you're in the water. Very hard to hold on to, and these guys don't have hands in the first place. So what they do is they bite the amphiuma, they wrap around it, and then at the end of their body, they hook into the amphiuma with that tail. So that tail, that spine, gives them some extra leverage to grab super slippery prey. Now what's happened is people have grabbed these snakes and they spine them and they're like, oh, it's a hoop snake, it spined me. And it's really funny. No, there are no snakes that can sting you, at least not to my knowledge. But people just get freaked out whenever a snake stabs them. Now, it doesn't pierce skin, it's just really surprising. It's just a little sharp scale on the end of their tail, and they'll just stick it right into you, and they'll just kind of poke it around to try to basically confuse you, and a lot of times it works. Birds will grab these guys sometimes, other snakes like king snakes, and they get really surprised when something stabs them really quickly. Now, hoop snakes are a mythological creature. They're not real. There's no snake that barrels down hillsides with its tail in its mouth and comes and stabs you and kills you. That's just not a thing. But over in Australia, snakes that coil up trees in a hoop motion, a lot of pythons, will get called hoop snakes and killed on sight. Here in North America, we have the coach whip and the mud snake that are oftentimes called hoop snakes when people see them. They just don't know what they're looking at. It's such a strange animal that you don't see often. People mistake it for a mythological creature. But these snakes are perfectly designed for this sort of habitat, living in this swampy environment, and that tail gives them an extra hand up on grabbing their prey items. It's not for stinging, but if you pick them up, they'll definitely poke you with it. A really unique animal. I'm really glad we got to show you guys an awesome mud snake. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to check out the time we went into the Louisiana wilderness areas and found rare snakes up there. Really fun adventure, that one, and I will see you guys next time. All right, time to get you back into your swamp.